what is one of the best ways to be able to convert a prospect to a ongoing, high-paying monthly business coaching client? That's what we're going to talk about on this episode of the Business Coaching Success Podcast. Let's jump in. BJ O'Neill here with the Business Coaching Success Podcast. So glad you're here, where I share with you strategies, tools, and tips to be able to grow your business coaching practice to six figures and beyond as a Christian business coach. Let's jump in. Welcome. Glad that you are here. BJ O'Neill here. And I love the conversation we're going to have today. Okay. And this is a significant delineage of what I used to do, all related to, how do we take someone who we've built relationships with, we built value with, but how do we move them into a relationship where they're investing into the growth of their business, meaning they're investing into us as coaches to help them grow the business, okay? And what I've discovered over the years is that one of the best, if not the best in my opinion, ways to secure that client, to deepen that value, to deepen that relationship is an assessment. Now, assessments come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. And for clarity, when we say the word assessment, all we're simply doing is sitting down and we're helping someone see what they can't through a tool. We're getting them to a place where they're beginning to recognize opportunities. We're getting them to a place where they're even scratching some of the itches that they've had, the challenges that they've had, right? And that's, in an assessment, you can make an assessment on your own. You can, buy assessments. You can, use templates and so on. And I'll share with you in just a few moments exactly the kind of assessment that we use in our business coaching mastery community. Okay. So here's we need to have an understanding though, the reason and the why the assessments work well. And think about an assessment for the moment. Maybe you're still thinking like, well, what exactly would an assessment be? And again, I'll show you with you what we do. They're just really questions, and they're highlighting opportunities. That's really what an assessment is going to do. Think about it like a health checkup. If you sit down and you're going to the doctor, maybe you're going to go to a doctor that you've never gone before. They're going to take an inventory of an assessment of your health, and they're going to ask you a number of questions. And they're going to ask you, have you done this? What is this? How does that work? And many of those are going to be questions that, I've not really thought about, or I've not really thought about in a long time, or I've thought about them, but I really don't know, the answer. And it's forcing you to focus. So here's the kind of bedrock that we have to understand when it comes to business owners. Here's one of the biggest. There's a lot of challenges. Here's one of the biggest challenges that they face. Again, there's a lot of challenges. But here's the biggest is, what am I going to do tactically? What am I going to do tactically to grow my business? What am I going to do tactically to grow the sales of my business? What am I going to do tactically to get more dollars out of current clients? What am I going to do tactically to communicate? Like all these different things. And many business owners just don't know. Okay, and it's not a bad thing. It's just that some people have businesses. They buy a business, they're tired of the 9 to 5, and they want to own their own world, which totally right there with them on that one, right? And but that doesn't mean that they really understand business growth, because there is a difference in managing the business and the operations and strategically implementing strategies to move the needle for growth. So an assessment assists in highlighting what's possible and what's not. Now, for clarity, in our community, we do use an assessment using proprietary software. And here's what we're doing. We're sitting down with business owners and helping them to recognize what small incremental increases look like through multiple business strategies. Okay, when we say increases, small percentage increases, because here's the challenge is leveraging one thing too much for a business. If that thing breaks, goes away, or whatever, it really can put a hurt on them. And so the better way to grow a business is to look for small gains in multiple areas consistently over time. That's an effective growth strategy, okay? So the word strategy, When you're looking at building an assessment, creating an assessment, buying an assessment, strategy is the word, okay? Because you can't have tactics without the strategy. The tactics are born out of the strategy, all right? So that's where you're focusing on. Back in the day, when I would attempt to get a coaching client, I would take them through a PowerPoint presentation to explain why coaching is so incredible. Well, the problem with that is that puts the focus on the coach. And it puts the focus on, here's what I know that you don't. It puts the focus on too much of, I know more than you do as I say. And it doesn't put enough focus on them, their numbers, where they're at, and based upon where they are at today, what they can do to implement some things for growth. So strategy is absolutely where you need to be focusing on in order to improve the business and to help that business owner and their team to see what they cannot, okay? The assessment itself, done correctly, should help keep the focus on the strategy. So like in our case, we are literally going line by line, working through some what-if scenarios based upon multiple different strategies. So it starts, and it always should start, with that business and their current gross numbers and their net numbers. So if a business is doing $500,000 and their gross is 50% and their net is 10%, for instance, we're going to show them through, in our case, software, how if they were to implement creating more uniqueness in their business, how they might get 5 to 8% more increases from their business annually. And then just like the effect of compound interest, when you've got one strategy, compound on another strategy, on another, that's how you get prolific acceleration to profits and revenues. So in our case, the assessment is helping them to recognize what they simply did not see. Because here's the other part of the way businesses think, and it's very normal and very natural. All right, many of them are overly focused on their industry and their trade, and they're not focused on business building principles. Well, as a coach, you can come in and say, "Hey, I can help you do this, help you," but it still makes it all about I. And the assessment done right and created right should help focus 100% about the business. Then we're focusing on strategies that they can use and the financial growth that they could see, the impacts that they could see from different strategies, okay? The right assessment is all about the prospect. I cannot stress that enough. The right assessment is built and created, and it focuses all about the prospect. The mistake that coaches make, and this is the reason why assessments are important. The mistakes we make, we talk about us too much. We use stories too much. And I'm a big believer in stories. We do have to use stories to sell, if you will. However, when we take the camera angle again and we just focus it all about, how wonderful we are and how we can help them and 5 reasons why you should hire me and all that, that just makes it very difficult, and it doesn't actually highlight the possibilities of growth principles in the business. Here's an example. I use this example all the time. I use it in our video trainings and I use it in our podcast all the time. So if you've heard me say this, then forgive me for being redundant, but it's one of the best stories to help illustrate strategy, especially inside an assessment as you're showing what's possible for that specific business. When we talk about strategies, you maybe remember back in the day, McDonald's, actually all fast food giants of any kind had no value meals, no combo meals, none of that kind of stuff. Until an executive at McDonald's said, we're going to test a strategy at the point of sale, no matter what the customer is buying. All right. And it's going to be a question. That question was, would you like fries with that? Well, that question was the bundling strategy. They were making it simple for customers to say, sure, that didn't cost them anything. They're already making the fries, so there's no additional cost. They may have made more of them, doesn't matter. They were selling more of what they made. And so they made it simple. Well, that's what created the value meals that eventually became the combo meal that is now what's in every walk-up establishment all over the world. That's a bundling strategy. So an assessment, what it does is it helps, when focused on strategies, see opportunities like that the vast majority of businesses simply aren't doing, which is the reason why they're not growing either A, at all, or unfortunately going backwards, or certainly not growing at the rate that they could. And that's what the assessment should do. The assessment should be able to say, look, this is where you are today. If you were to focus on these few principles over the next 12 months or so, this is what it could look like in the next year or so. And that's the reason why an assessment just makes the business owner go, I've never thought about it that way. That's kind of where you want to put them. You want to put them into an aha state. I talk about this all the time, is that moving someone to a point to where they go, oh my gosh, I get it now. It's like light bulb moments, right? Why does that work in an assessment? Because it's about them. I'm just going to keep drilling that home because this is the difference. Now, you don't want them to be complicated. You don't want them to be shooting over their head. That's the reason why asking great questions in an assessment are critical, all right? And lastly, the right assessment done correctly should have some type of leave behind, some tangible piece that says, here you go, almost like a miniature business playbook, if you will, which is what we do in our assessment. Once a coach goes through the entire process, they leave behind a 17-page roadmap that shows them the strategies that they should implement in their business and step by step what they need to do to implement those inside the business, okay? So the bigger point is, if you are coaching today and you're struggling getting clients and you are sitting down, you are interacting with people, then my guess is it's likely a missing piece for you is you don't have a strategy in place that would utilize an assessment all about the business to help them see what's possible for growth, okay? That's what you want to do. Secondly, you certainly have to, like everything else in life, and sure, we can call it, this is where we're closing them, if you will, if you want to look at it that way. I'll more or less, it's about making an invitation. And that's what an assessment should do. It should set you up to make a values-driven invitation to work together. Like in our community, that question, that invitation sounds like this: would you like my help with implementing these strategies in your business? So assessments should be high value add. They should be educating. They should be aha moments, helping them to either, again, see what they kind of have wondered about, or certainly to see opportunities that they've never even realized that they're missing. And it's probably not that difficult to implement that strategy in the business. Okay, so I hope that helps. If you don't have an assessment, again, you can Google some things online. You can find some, create some questions yourself. Or if you're curious about, if you're wanting to coach, you've never coached before, you're curious about, the assessment I've referred to that's in our system, and you just like to learn more about it, you can go to businesscoachmastery.com. That's businesscoachmastery.com. You'll get some information there. You can also schedule a time for a quick chat. We can share with you our entire done-for-you system that we help coaches to build profitable business coaching practices. Okay? Hope that helps. Hope that added value to you today. All right? Until next time, take care.